Kaleb Johnson has a chance to get himself right back to the forefront of the Heisman race. How does he do it? We break it down against Michigan State today. Locked on Hawkeyes.
You are Locked On Hawkeyes, your daily podcast on the Iowa Hawkeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, welcome in. I'm Trent Condon, and this is the Locked On Hawkeyes podcast. Thanks for making Locked On Hawkeyes your first listen every day. We're available wherever you find podcasts. You can also watch us on YouTube. While you're there, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Helps us get in front of more Hawkeye fans. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Place your first $5 bet, and you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Well, Kaleb Johnson has put together an incredible season this year for the Iowa Hawkeyes and really flipped the script on the narrative of Iowa football and what they can do running the football. A tremendous season, and the back half of the schedule is in front. It's a back half of a schedule that starts tomorrow against Michigan State. And our Friday walkthrough, a matchup that obviously Iowa is the favorite in. Iowa nearly a touchdown favorite in this game. But the big question about this game is, how is Kaleb Johnson going to continue to do what he's done throughout the course of this season? He has put up a monster year, 937 yards, 12 touchdowns already on the season. He'll go over 1,000 yards with a good performance in this one. It doesn't even take a real good performance, in fact, at 937 already on the season. But the question that I continue to hear is, where's the Heisman buzz? What is happening? Why is Kaleb Johnson not getting the same notoriety that we've seen from some of the other running backs in the country, including Ashton Jeanty? Now, Ashton Jeanty is a special back, and this is not to discredit what he has done, but you look at the betting markets out there at places like FanDuel, plus 230 for a running back from Boise State to win the Heisman Trophy. We know winning a Heisman is incredibly difficult to do. We know that in order to get that award, you have to be incredibly special. And on top of it, now it's turned into not just the most outstanding player in college football, what it was and what it still says it is, but there's more that goes into it. And you also have to have the team success that goes along with it in order to get there. But the reason I believe that Kaleb's got a great chance this week is who he's going up against, Michigan State. And though this Michigan State defense is okay, when you take a look at the rush defense numbers, what they put together this season, rush defense on the year, they're 58th in the country, giving up 130 a game. Total defense, 36. And you say, okay, well, they're pretty good against the run. But as you dive a little bit deeper into it, you see that there's some cracks there. There's been plenty of guys that have been out of run fits, out of space, and against Kaleb Johnson, we know, yeah, this is a chance for it to be a big night for him. Last time out, Michigan State coming off a bye. The last time, though, they gave up a 100-yard rusher in their last matchup. They, against Ohio State, had two guys that were running the ball well, including Henderson, who was averaging nearly 10 yards per carry as their top two running backs, Judkins and him, combined for 130 yards rushing in that football game. Even the game against Boston College, they gave up a 100-yard runner. Now, in order for Kaleb Johnson to be a realistic choice, to, at minimum, get an invite to New York City, the consistency needs to be there. The totals need to be absolutely ridiculous. I mean, the likelihood is that Kaleb Johnson's going to have to rush for 2,000 plus yards. It's going to have to probably be 25 touchdowns, something like that on the season. And I believe on top of it, Iowa has to run the table. Iowa has to finish up the year at 10-2. That's the kind of season that he needs to do. But a big performance here on the road, NBC national broadcast. The opportunity is going to be real. Kaleb Johnson with a lot of eyeballs on him to get himself back into consideration. Do I believe that he can win the Heisman Trophy? I don't. Now that 250 to 1 price that you can find right now at FanDuel certainly gets it going. But boy, overall, this has a chance to be another big one for Kaleb Johnson. Taking a look at Michigan State. And I'll be honest, I hate this feeling. If you're an everydayer and you listen to me and you've listened to me for years here on Locked On Hawkeyes or on the radio for the last couple of decades, you know, it doesn't matter what team I cheer for. It doesn't matter my favorite baseball team, the Twins, the Bears in the NFL, the Timberwolves, or of course our beloved Iowa Hawkeyes. It doesn't matter what it is. I don't like having the feeling of this great sense of optimism that the team's just going to win because they're better. Maybe it's the years of scar tissue that I've built up, the disappointment that has come, the disappointments that have come for a really long time, and the teams that I've covered and that I have followed. That's probably, I'm sure, a part of it. I mean, we can go sit on the couch here and get some deep psychology if we really will, but I just don't like it. And as I look at this Michigan State matchup, I'll be honest, I don't see a whole lot of paths for Michigan State to win this game, short of Childs going nuts, Iowa turning into a pumpkin running the football, Cade McNamara turning it over. But these are things that we just haven't seen. Again, looking at the statistical profile, looking at things that Michigan State struggles with, they turn the football over. They're mistake prone. They have a lot of penalties, something that is not an issue, or hasn't been an issue, I should say, up to this point for this Iowa football team. Phil Parker against a young quarterback that's turned it over a ton. I mean, these just leave you absolutely salivating that I was going to win this game and win the football game comfortably. You know me. Usually, I'm on the pessimistic side. I don't like to have this kind of optimism going into a game. I feel like Iowa wins this football game. I feel like they control the football game because they're just better. And the things that Iowa does well are things that Michigan State doesn't do well. These are all things that add up, in my mind, to Iowa winning this football game and winning it relatively comfortably. 24-13, 27-17, something in that range. I think Iowa gets this win and does it in a nice fashion. Now, if Kaleb Johnson goes off and rushes for 200 yards, 3 touchdowns, that narrative, that conversation about the Heisman is going to change, and you're not going to be able to find 250-1 anymore, I don't believe, at the sportsbook. There's a lot still to come for this Iowa football team as we make our way to the second half of the schedule. 6 games in. 4-2 is not where anybody wanted to be. It is not a place that I think a lot of fans thought they were going to be. The Iowa State loss still stings. Losing to Ohio State, it's going to happen. That's a great football team, an incredibly talented football team, and Iowa just got outclassed. But to lose that one, it stings. And you couple it with what's happening in Iowa State and the national notoriety that they're getting and what they're doing, it's a stinger, no doubt. But there is still a ton on the table. There's still an outside chance for this team to become a college football playoff team. What you got to do? Stack up wins. That starts this week against Michigan State. We continue and we talk to a guy that's making his way to East Lansing. Tom Kakert from HawkeyeReport.com. He will join us as we continue on the Locked On Hawkeyes podcast. Guys, ever feel like you need a little boost in the bedroom? It's time to stop worrying about your performance and get Hims so you can feel confident knowing you can get hard and stay hard whenever you're in the mood. Hims is changing men's healthcare by providing you with access to affordable sexual health treatments from the comfort of your couch. The process is 100% online. There's no need for an uncomfortable doctor's visit. Just answer a series of questions on their site, and a medical provider will determine the right treatment option. If prescribed, your medication ships directly to you in discreet packaging for free. No insurance is needed. One low price covers everything from treatments to ongoing care. Start your free online visit today at hims.com/lockedon. That's Hims, HIMS.com/lockedon for your personalized ED treatment options. Hims.com/lockedon. The products mentioned are chewable compounded products which are not approved by or verified for safety or effectiveness by the FDA. Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Let's get to Tom Kakert. He covers Iowa for HawkeyeReport.com. He joins us. Tom, Trent, and Ken, thanks for coming on. Tom Kakert, how are you?
I'm doing well on my way to state of Michigan right now. So making some progress.
So I've never been to East Lansing. Kind of give us the lay of the land. I mean, how far from Detroit is it?
You know, it's probably about 2 hours, I would guess, because it's about, a little under 90 minutes from Ann Arbor, and Ann Arbor is about 30 minutes from outside Detroit, Detroit Airport. So it's not terribly far. So yeah, I do this kind of differently because I go stay with some friends in Ann Arbor and visit with them, and it's great. They're some of my oldest friends in my life. I live in Ann Arbor, so I go there tonight and then drive up in the morning. And it's a nice time of year to drive up there because all the leaves are turning and everything. So it's a pretty drive on the way up to Lansing tomorrow.
What is the biggest concern for you in this game? Childs is a athletic quarterback, can make some plays, but he's also been turnover prone. What is the one area that you look at and say, ooh, this might be something that Iowa finds himself in trouble or a tight one come the fourth quarter?
It's that Childs figures it out and doesn't turn the ball over. It's simply that. I mean, because even against Ohio State, you look back at the play-by-play from that game, and I watched it too. They had 3 drives going to the red zone, or 4 drives going to the red zone, and 3 of them had 2 turnovers, and they had a turnover on downs against Ohio State. So they moved the ball, and it's just Childs just makes mistakes. But if he doesn't make mistakes and they get in the end zone, well, it might be a different game for them. So that's the thing that kind of you worry about is, well, what if this kid puts it together? If he does, then Iowa's in for a dogfight. But if Phil Parker does what he does to a lot of young quarterbacks and especially quarterbacks that are turnover prone, then different story. And Iowa might be, into a comfortable win instead of a dogfight.
Tom, just one more a logistic kind of question. Is the stadium, you've been to most of them in the Big Ten, I'm guessing maybe all of them in the Big Ten.
All of them. Well,
that's what I would figure.
I haven't been to the Coliseum.
Well, sure.
And I haven't been to Washington or Oregon, but otherwise, yeah.
You'll check those boxes.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
So is this an intimidating venue, Tom? Are the fans right on top of you, similar to Kinnick Stadium? Or is this one kind of just another stadium? What's the stadium, Spartan Stadium, like?
I'm trying to figure out a good comp for it, and it does have some Kinnick qualities to it. That it's you're a little bit closer to the field than some places. They always have a good crowd here up there in East Lansing. It's always been student section's always turned out when I've gone up there, but my exposures up there really the last, I don't know, like 10 years have been pretty limited because they've only been up there twice since 2013.
Right.
And they were up there 2013, 2017, and that's it. I haven't been back up there since then. So, I'm just kind of, it's closer, and I've always really liked their crowds up there, and it's always been terrible weather every time I've gone up there. So this will be a first when the sun will be out. So, and it's not going to be windy. Usually it's cloudy, gloomy, rainy when I go up there. So this will be nice.
Yeah, I've been to Spartan Stadium a couple of times myself, and it's always seems to be dreary. Not going to be the case though. Sun will be down, and they like to party there a little bit too. So good to see, I think, a charged up atmosphere for this one. Some hope and some certainly look at this new coaching staff as well. Tom, are we going to see more out of this Iowa pass offense, or is it going to be as simple as long as Kaleb Johnson's going, we're going to simplify things, we're going to keep it going? Do you think there's still more upside in the Hawkeye passing offense?
I do. They just based on what they keep saying to us that, hey, it's getting better, and maybe getting Seth Anderson back is going to help them, and maybe the development of Dayton Howard is going to help them, and they continue to get kind of pieces back or pieces start growing, but I want to see it on the road. I mean, you see little bits and pieces of growth at home, but on the road is different. And you can bet that, like I said a few weeks ago with Ohio State, you can bet that the Sparty people remember where Cade McNamara started his career. Not their favorite place. They're going to have something for him, and I'm sure that's going to be a challenge for him because they're going to be after him.
If Seth Anderson does see the field more, and like you, I think he should. I think he probably will. At whose expense do those snaps come from? Who stays on the sideline if Anderson's in the game?
Jacob Gill seems to be sharing time with Howard, so I would think Reese Vandersee probably.
Yeah.
Sees less snaps with Seth Anderson out there. And, the other thing this week is they're going to be without Addison Ostringa again for a second straight week. And it's probably going to be a couple more weeks. He done something to his shoulder. I haven't had anybody tell me exactly what it is, but he was in a sling last week. So I wonder if he's got like a separated shoulder or something. It's just going to take some time to heal up. But so I keep an eye on Zach Ortworth this weekend. I kind of just gut feeling, the speedier tight end maybe makes a big play or two here in this game.
And we haven't seen a whole lot of that from the tight ends down the field throughout the course of this season. It's been a lot closer to the line of scrimmage. And we talked about this offensive line a lot, very veteran coming into the season. Outside of scheme and the schematic changes and being healthy, what else is different with this group? What has changed this year that they're playing at a really high level, and not just in run blocking, pass blocking as well?
Yeah, I think there's better continuity, and I think they're healthy. I mean, I don't think they're going to lose a whole lot. Bo Stevens going to be out this week. But Ellsbury, as we saw last year, I mean, there were more than a few people arguing that Ellsbury was better than Logan Jones last year when he went in there, that they maybe ran the ball better with Ellsbury in at center when Logan had the high ankle sprain. So I think I actually think they're probably stronger with Ellsbury. I'm just a big fan of Ellsbury. I think he has a little edge to him, a little toughness, moves people a little bit better. And the great thing about him is you can plug him in just about anywhere, and he's going to do good work for you.
Tom, I'm not sure if you ventured across state lines. If so, did you happen to see over under Kaleb Johnson rushing yards this week?
I have not seen it yet, but I'm going. Apparently, they have player props up in Michigan, so we'll have to. I was told that by a source close to gambling in the world, and they said, "Hey, you got player props up there. You can look at them." So I'll be perusing and see what's up there.
What is 110 reasonable, Trent?
Yeah, I'd probably take the over.
Yeah, take the over, Tom. Trent's on the over. How about you?
Yeah, I would take the over if it's like 110, 112, somewhere around there. I would take the over. Yeah, I think Lachey's number might be interesting to watch too, and because I'm sure they're going to have something up for him. So yeah, it's going to be interesting.
Tom, earlier today, Ken and I were talking about Jay Higgins, his importance to this team, and just how great he's been over these last two seasons. I mentioned you saw him on special teams early in his career, saw him play a little linebacker. He looked okay. But the way he's elevated his game, I think he's in the Mount Rushmore for middle linebackers at minimum of the Ferentz era. And maybe even he might be that front face. He might be at the top of the list. And you're talking about Abdul Hodge. You're talking about Pat Anger. You're talking about Josie Jewell. And we can go on and on and on. Where does Jay Higgins rank for you in terms of middle linebackers in the Ferentz era?
Boy, that's a good question. There's some good ones, including the guy that was right ahead of
I'll say.
Jack Campbell. I mean, Captain Jack was tough to beat too. So there's just so many guys. But you know what? He might be the biggest surprise to me of guys that has elevated, because you always felt like Abdul was going to be good when he got in the program, and same thing for Jack. And you always heard good things right out of the gate about Josie, but I thought like Jay would be like kind of this filler guy that just kind of was in here for a couple of years, and then somebody like Carson Shire or somebody would be like the next really stud linebacker. But boy, he has totally exceeded my expectations, and he's just terrific. I mean, just a terrific player. I don't know if I'd put him on my top 4. But I would put he's right there. He's in the discussion for one of those spots.
Back to the player props. Cade McNamara over $125 through the air, over under.
I think we're going under.
Yeah,
I got to see it to believe it. I got to see it to believe it.
One of these weeks we will. I have faith, boys. I have faith. It's going to happen. Tom Kakert, enjoy the sights and sounds of East Lansing. We'll read you once you get up into the. Well, we read you all the time, but I do enjoy your view from the press box, getting everybody set for the game. That's good stuff. Tom Kakert, HawkeyeReport.com. Tom, anything you want to promote before we let you go?
No, nothing really to promote this week. Just everybody stop by tomorrow during the game and join in the conversation with us. And I'll be there probably, 2.5, 3 hours before the game kicks off with some news and notes and tell you who's dressed and who made the trip and who didn't. So we'll have all that info at Hawkeye Report.
View from the press box. Good stuff, Tom Kakert. Talk to you in 7 days, Tom. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
Yep. Good to talk to you. Tom Kakert, HawkeyeReport.com, as we check in on the Hawks.
Always appreciate. Today's episode of Locked On Hawkeyes is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Well, the NFL season is here, and you can start the season off with a big return on FanDuel. It's America's #1 sportsbook. When you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. So important to have that information as you're looking to fire, want to get live in-game wagering. They got you covered at FanDuel. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com, where you can get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. Iowa, currently a 6-point favorite against Michigan State this week. Taking a look at the NFL, how about the Lions and the Vikings? Should be a great one in the NFC North. Vikings down to a 1.5-point favorite in that one. College, NFL, Major League Baseball, and a whole lot more. They have you covered at FanDuel. $200 in bonus bets when you place your first $5 bet at FanDuel. Just visit FanDuel.com. Trent Condon back with you one final time on the Locked On Hawkeyes podcast. Let's get a little hoops talk in here. And the rankings came out last week from KenPom. As many of you know, if you're an everydayer, I am a disciple of KenPom. I think they're incredibly important analytical numbers to take a look at what these teams are, what they're going to be, and the way that they go. So Ken Pomeroy's numbers first in the preseason. There is plenty of ammunition from previous seasons. That is a part of the analytics that he uses in the beginning portion of the season until he can get a good baseline with the teams. And then those preseason expectations start to fall off. We talked about some other numbers that are out there. Bart Torvik is another one of the websites. That's a free website. Does an incredible job. Also, some fun analytics that you can look at also on his website if you are interested and kind of taking a look at things on college basketball through that lens and through that scope. But for Ken Pomeroy, he's the grandfather of all. He's the one that kind of built this analytical revolution that we've seen in the basketball world and certainly in the college basketball world. And Bart Torvik has Iowa. I think 46 was the last number that I saw, 46 in the country. I mean, that is bubblicious. And that's, I think, where a lot of people have this Iowa men's basketball team. Fringes of a bubble team, kind of like a season ago. Maybe you'll have a chance going into the couple of weeks, but that's not the case with Ken Pomeroy. He has Iowa at 33rd in his rankings. You saw the AP top 25 that came out. I mean, High Point was getting votes. Iowa did not receive a single vote. This is about as high outside of some local media that I've seen Iowa basketball projected this season. Now, the gap between the Big Ten and I think probably teams 5 and 15 is going to be incredibly small. And in fact, his projections say just that. He has Purdue winning the conference at 14-6 this season, and then a 5-way tie at second place. Second place with an 11-9 record. That shows you how jumbled this is, and the gap between these teams is not going to be significant. In fact, of the now 18-team league, he has 15 of them finishing somewhere between 11-9 and 9-11. It's going to be important to steal a road victory here and there, to protect home floor. It is going to mean the difference between potentially having a bye or even a double bye and having to play in the opening night of the Big Ten tournament. It's going to be that close, I believe, this season, and certainly his numbers bear that out. So in front of Iowa in his projections, it's Purdue, the number 1 spot. They are up there at the number 1 spot, followed up by Illinois, UCLA, Oregon, Ohio State. Ohio State at 31, followed up by Iowa. But right on Iowa's heels, you have Michigan State, Michigan, Maryland, and Indiana. All of those teams are ranked between 35 and 39 in the country. A little bit lower, Wisconsin and Northwestern, along with Nebraska, USC, Minnesota, all top 60 teams in his rankings. And then the bottom part of the schedule of the rankings has Penn State, Rutgers, and Washington in the final spot. And the Rutgers story is going to be interesting because they bring in 2 5-star players this year. It might be better than what these projections have going into the season. We've talked about this squad from time to time. I think there's a ton of upside. I think they have a chance to be better defensively. And this was maybe the biggest component and probably why Iowa was higher than they are some other places. Iowa, he has them in adjusted offensive efficiency at 12th in the country. That's what we expect. That's what we get seemingly on a year-by-year basis from this Iowa basketball team under Fran McCaffrey. However, defensively, 77th in the country. You might be saying 77th. Trent, that stinks. Well, last year, they finished 157th. That's right, 157th in the country in adjusted defense. If they play towards that mark, if they are in the top 80 in college basketball defensively, we're going to be talking about a really good team. In fact, the last time that Iowa had a team that did just that, they were good. They went 26-17. 26-10 of that season when they finished 80th in the country in adjusted defense. I think this team is going to be better defensively this season. Owen Freeman staying out of foul trouble, the depth that they have at the power forward position. We'll see how the point guard situation shakes out. I think it's going to be a fun season of basketball for the men's team coming up this year. With that, we are out of time for today. We'll be back with you late into the evening after Iowa, Michigan State concludes with the Rapid Reaction podcast. Looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to the Hawkeyes getting a win this Saturday. Thanks for making Locked On Hawkeyes your first listen every day. We'll talk to you again tomorrow. Go Hawks.